Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chum Change. This is live and recorded. If you guys have any questions during or after the fact, leave in the comments below or in the live chat. All right, so Bitcoin spot ETF fake news comes out and pumps Bitcoin's price above $30,000 for a brief moment. Then it came back down to reality, but it was quite interesting to say the least, right? And then I guess the SEC posted the best place to find the news on the SEC is the SEC itself when it comes to Twitter over on X. So we'll look at that in just a second. And then we just have Kathy Wood talks about her 2030 prediction real briefly to 600,000 like it was nothing. It's kind of a big deal that they still have this long-term outlook on crypto as a whole, or Bitcoin as a whole in general. It's just kind of neat. All right, let's see. Mr. Patrick Murphy, good morning. Yes, I might be sweating. Thank you. The camera quality is fantastic, and it might pick that up because I just had to run my barrels down to the end of the street. So I'm like dying. Anyways, Patty Whack Miner, good to see you. We have Andrew Masad, good morning. Leo Lustig, Dave's FinTech channel. What's up, man? Let's see who else is here in the chat. TD, good to see you. Backwards Miner, we have Cape Cod Crypto, Chris Hanley, Dom G, my man, Overboard Tech. Good to see you. 56 as always, dude. You're awesome. All right, let's check out the market quick and then we will get into this. Sorry if I missed anybody else. Let's see what we're looking like. So Bitcoin 28,452. Let me big screen this. We have Ethereum 1583. It's literally 0%, dead even from yesterday. Litecoin 62 bucks. Let's see. Shiba is down 1.1%, not that it matters. XRP under 50 cents. Solana 24 bucks. That went up since yesterday. OKB, damn, 6.42 rise, not too bad. Let's check out Crypto Bubbles. This is on the week. That coin that was like taking over this entire screen yesterday clearly went back into the top 200 coins because they ain't here no more. We have Caspa up 5.2% on the week. Let's see, on the day it's up 4.7%. It's at 4 cents, 472. Hex is up 14.8% today. Interesting. I wonder how that court stuff with that Richard Hart guy is going actually. OKB 6.2, IOTA 7.7, Solana like we said 3.6, BSV 8.2, up, not too bad, not too bad. Everything's looking pretty good. All right, check out Fear and Greed Index. Let's see, we're looking at 52 for the Fear and Greed Index. Not too bad, pretty much neutral like it's been for the past 6 months, for Christ's sakes. All right, let's see, top 10 coins by coin market cap, and then we'll get into miners and the news today. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, XRP. We have USDC, Lido Staked, Ether, Solana, Cardano, and Dogecoin. Litecoin is down in 16th, and Shiba still in 19th from yesterday. And again, I want to time capsule these ant miners and all this stuff, all these crypto miners, as we are mainly a crypto mining channel. We have profit per day, $114 for the Bitmain ant miner KS3, 9.4 terahashes. I'm just trying to, again, I want to make a little time capsule, see what these prices are all at while we do this every day. X16Q is making 4.27 a day, not too bad, almost $4.50. Let's see, the X4 is still making the most on Octa a day, 3.17. Oh, sorry, that's the X4. This is the X4Q. It's still Octa Space is the best coin to mine for that. It's $1.63 a day, and the KS0 still at $1.15. And again, this is at 10 cents per kilowatt hour, so take that as you will. All right, let's look at this. So this is shortly after the fake pump or Bitcoin spot ETF pump, right? This could be good and bad. So there is I guess the fact that this news came out in this market was pumped so fast and manipulated so quickly like that, they have some legs to stand on to deny this ETF now, which kind of sucks. So let me just read this and then we'll get into like the actual news. So this misinformation saga led to a sharp uptick in Bitcoin's price, which temporarily surpasses $30,000 before plummeting 8%. Observers like Bitfinex have pointed out the potential long-term consequences of such episodes, suggesting that they could furnish the SEC with grounds to deny the Bitcoin ETF applications. It says, well, now the SEC knows there was a fake Bitcoin spot approval market manipulation pump that they can cite in the next spot Bitcoin ETF denial, which kind of sucks. That's over here on Twitter. If you guys are interested, I will, let me see. How do I share this? If my computer wasn't lagging right now. Oh, right here. I'm so bad at using Twitter. It's terrible. All right, I'm gonna put this in the live chat. If you guys are interested, feel free. All right, let me go back. Where the hell were we? Right here. All right, so it says which helps them deny the applications again because they can show manipulation of the underlying market. Great job, guys. So yeah, it does kind of suck. Why? Every time I highlight it, it clicks into it. Damn it. All right. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission's careful of what you read on the internet, they say. The best source of information about the SEC is the SEC, and that's over on Twitter. So take that as you will. It's kind of messed up, but whatever. I mean, at least you guys are gonna, well, at least you have seen or had a taste of what the spot Bitcoin ETF can do for the price of Bitcoin. So guys, no further ado, let's get into this. We have Crypto World's CNBC. I don't know if we're gonna listen to the whole thing, but let's get the I guess the news roundup of the day. Let's do it. If you guys have any questions, at me in the chat.
Today, Bitcoin briefly crosses the $30,000 level. Week 3 of the trial of Sam Bankman-Fried kicks off with testimony from former top FTX executive Nishad Singh. And Robinson Berkey of the Wormhole Foundation explains why crypto firms want to expand overseas to countries like Portugal.
The Wormhole Foundation. What the hell is that?
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Kate Rooney. Crypto prices in the green to kick off the week. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin traded around $28,000 after surging above the $30,000 level at one point this morning. Ether rose 1.5% and Polygon's Matic token climbed nearly 2%. Bitcoin's sudden spike this morning was likely a response to an unconfirmed report that the iShares Bitcoin spot ETF had been formally approved by the SEC, but the coin quickly gave up those gains. That report has not been confirmed by CNBC and other major media.
Now, just imagine how high the price is going to go when that actually does get approved. It's going to be astronomical, at least in my opinion, because that was only select few that were actually into it at that moment when the thing started pumping.
Okay, let's talk about some of the top stories. Tether has frozen funds in more than 30 crypto addresses it says are linked to terrorism and warfare in Israel and Ukraine. Tether said to date it's helped 31 agencies around the world with investigations and froze a total of $835 million in assets, mostly associated with theft, and a portion had to do with other crimes. Of those, Tether said it froze 32 addresses containing more than $870,000 that were found to be linked to illicit activity in Israel and Ukraine. Tether said it has been working with Israel's National Bureau for Counter-Terror Financing to combat crypto-funded terrorism and warfare. Last week, we told you that Hamas militants behind the surprise attacks in Israel raised millions in crypto. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Last week, we also learned Israeli police reportedly froze crypto accounts tied to Hamas, which has been designated a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S. and has been sanctioned by officials here. Next up, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed off on stricter crypto regulations. Those rules take effect in July 2025. In a statement published on Friday, Newsom declared that the bill, called the Digital Financial Assets Law, will make it mandatory for individuals and companies to obtain a Department of Financial Protection and Innovation license to engage in digital asset business activity. According to CoinDesk, the bill, which is considered California's answer to New York's BIT license, faced heavy industry criticism by the U.S. states' assemblies in September 2022. Newsom stressed on Friday that, quote, stronger consumer and investor protections will prevent fraud and ensure bad actors are held accountable. He acknowledged that ambiguity of certain terms will require refinement to provide clarity to both consumers, regulators, and businesses subject to this new framework. And last up, let's get an update.
That's kind of crazy. So it's just so you guys know, that's not like us personally. I think it's anybody that just wants to, like, say, start your own token or something along those lines.
On the SBF trial, the third week kicked off today with testimony from former top FTX executive Nishad Singh. The former head of engineering at FTX pleaded guilty to criminal charges and has been cooperating with prosecutors. In his testimony, Singh immediately admitted to defrauding FTX customers alongside SBF, Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, and Ryan Salem. He said that he learned of a, quote, enormous hole of $8 billion at FTX in September 2022. Singh, who lived with SBF at the penthouse in the Bahamas, called SBF's spending at Alameda, quote, excessive. The court was shown an eye-popping spreadsheet of investments made in 2021, including a $1 billion investment to the now bankrupt crypto lending firm Genesis, investment in a crypto mining company, $500 million as well to AI company Anthropic, and $200 million to K5. Singh said that after a dinner put on by K5 with attendees including Hillary Clinton, Katy Perry, Leonardo DiCaprio and others, he was concerned about the excessive bonuses he learned were being doled out to the firm's owners. Today, the jury was also shown a spreadsheet of celebrity sponsorships. Those included a $205 million investment to the FTX Arena in Miami, $150 million to the MLB, and $50 million to Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen. All the deals on that spreadsheet totaled $1.13 billion.
$53 million to Tom Brady and Gisele. That's absurd. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. All right, I'm going to skip that wormhole guy, whatever that's about. I don't even know. But anyways, let's get into this. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood hopes are rising that a number of Bitcoin ETFs will be approved. So I want to hear what she has to say about this little 8-minute clip. Let's get into it.
And making that long-awaited ETF a lot more likely. We're very close right now. Joining us now, someone's very much got a dog in that fight. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood. Cathie, you're one of 9 applicants for a spot Bitcoin ETF. It looks like the SEC is going to be forced to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. What, if any, communications have you had with the SEC about your application? Where are we in this whole thing?
I guess that's if the news yesterday doesn't screw things up. I'm going to put a poll in the chat, though. I want to know if you guys think all of the Bitcoin spot ETFs, there was 9 of them, right? If they'll all get approved at the same time, or you guys think just one or another will get approved? Let's do it.
Well, it was publicized and disclosed. I think it was last week that we had responded to the SEC's request for information around our Bitcoin filing, and we responded, and that's basically all we can say. I think many people think the fact that the SEC chose to ask questions is a change in behavior. And therefore, I do think hopes are rising that or a number of Bitcoin ETFs will be approved.
Yeah, my understanding is the court now is going to issue a mandate about how to enforce their decision here to the SEC, and their SEC is going to basically follow that mandate. Everybody is assuming at this point that they'll probably approve most of the Bitcoin ETFs by the end of the year. That's a reasonable assumption at this point? They lost the court case. They chose not to appeal it at this point.
Right. And I do believe maybe the reason they're saying by the end of the year, early next year, I know our final deadline on this filing is January 10th. And so, and I think we're first in line. But as you say, a number of Bitcoin ETFs could be approved at the same time.
Now, your flagship ARK Innovation Fund's up 20% this year. You're outperforming the S&P, but you've had significant outflows this year. Can you talk about that? You know, you're outperforming, and yet you're having outflows. Tell us.
Geez, Tesla's up 10.4% this year. Coinbase 8.1. Is that this year? Is that what it's all about? Roku 8%, Zoom 7.7, and UiPath, whatever that is, 6.8.
A little bit about what impact,
for
example, higher rates are having on your holdings this year. That seems to be a major issue.
Well, I think there are a couple of things going on.
And Dan R, 0 chance. You sick bastard.
If you'll remember, in late 20 and early 21, the flows were enormous into our funds, and you know, I was uncomfortable at the time because we thought there was a lot of momentum chasing going on, and we.
All right, sorry. Apparently, Tesla's up 100% this year. DJ Mine says, "Sorry, I'm not a stock guy, so that might have been the week. I don't know, or the day. Who freaking knows?"
Said at that time, keep some powder dry. Little did we know how big the correction would be. This is sort of the flip side of that. We're feeling much more comfortable right now, but we did have, through July, a very significant rally. I do think there's been some profit taking there. And I do think, as you say, interest rates, rising rates have concerned a lot of people. There's been a shift into cash, and we've seen very recently a shift into bonds. And interestingly, the flows into bonds would suggest that we should not be far behind, because if bonds are going to rally, and we think they will at some point here, as inflation continues to come down, as the economy continues to go through rolling recessions of sorts, we think that the backdrop will be right for a resurgence in growth stocks generally, and in particular, long duration innovation growth assets like ours.
My colleague Scott's got a question here. Scott?
All right.
Hi, Kathy. Great to have you back on the
Scott.
halftime report. So given what you just said, do you not believe in higher for longer?
I don't, and we don't, I should say. If we're paying attention to company earnings, and some of these are companies we're exposed to, others not, you'll see at both the high end and the low end of the consumer spectrum in terms of price points. You've got Domino's saying, hey, it's really weak out there, we've got to do more promotional activity. And you've got LVMH, same thing. Both of those happened last week. We're paying attention to company reports, and I understand the economic statistics are volatile and showing strength and then weakness. We're paying attention to our companies, and it does seem like the consumer is starting to give way here.
Yeah, interesting. Let me ask you about a specific stock that you sold, and that's NVIDIA. Do you regret selling it? You called it, quote, really expensive. I will note that the forward PE of NVIDIA is literally half of Tesla's forward PE. So how can NVIDIA be really expensive with Tesla not being so? And do you regret selling it?
We own it in our specialized funds. We've taken it down everywhere. And this is portfolio management. We see NVIDIA. You might say it is less expensive than Tesla. We think the upside surprises on Tesla during the next 5 years, and remember we have a 5-year investment time horizon, are going to be substantially more than NVIDIA's, mostly because most analysts do not believe that autonomous as a taxi platform for Tesla is going to be a part of the story. We disagree. And
I was just going to ask what the price was on these two. So Tesla 252 as of yesterday, and NVIDIA 458. Now, you guys have to remember, right, when it comes to NVIDIA, the AI boom is only going to drive NVIDIA stock up. At least that's my opinion. AI is going to be huge in the next couple of years, and NVIDIA is probably one of the best places to put your money if you're huge into AI. I mean, that's my opinion. Again, not financial advice.
with that, we see incredible revenue and margin expansion. NVIDIA's margins are already quite high, having entered the 70s, the gross margins. Tesla's are in the 20s, and we think they will scale into the 60s and 70s as autonomous takes off. So Tesla, we believe, is the biggest AI project, or autonomous driving is the biggest AI project in the world. NVIDIA has been critical to providing the infrastructure to enable this and so many other things to happen. All praises to NVIDIA.
And that wasn't, just so you guys know, that wasn't like NVIDIA is going to do better than Tesla. I don't think that at all, because I think Tesla is like, it's one of those companies that they're just going to rule the world eventually, right? When it comes to like stocks and just everything else, cars all over the road, it's going to be Teslas everywhere in the next 5 years for sure. So I don't see that not blowing up either.
I think that a lot of people understand how important NVIDIA is in this ecosystem, and they do not understand how much each dollar of hardware spent is going to pull software through. We think it's on the order of 20 times. So we think NVIDIA is going to be a good stock. We think the stocks in our portfolio, and we've written a paper on artificial intelligence. It's titled Investing in Artificial Intelligence, Where Will Equity Values Surface? You can read that on arc-funds.com and see how we're a really good diversification into this AI world. Many think that the winners are going to be the megatech companies who have had such strong performance over the years. We are not sure. We are not sure. ChatGPT could be the best thing that ever happened to Google, and that it lit a fire under Google to get its own AI into the market more profoundly. Or it could be the worst thing, in that it's going to lose its advertising franchise if we're all just on ChatGPT looking for our answers.
All right, Kathy, thank you very much. We've got to have much more with Kathy Wood coming.
All right, shout out to CNBC television for that. Let's get over here. This is ETF Edge on October 16th. This is yesterday. So, guys, that like button, appreciate you for hanging out. Just making sure I hit the like over there. All right, so we're probably only going to listen to like 8 minutes of this or so. Let's do it.
And welcome to ETF Edge, your go-to place for everything exchange-traded funds. I'm your host, Bob Pisani. On Friday, the SEC chose not to appeal an important case on a spot Bitcoin ETF, making that long-awaited ETF much more likely. Joining us now.
Oh, wicked. Sorry, by the way. Wanted to say thank you, Mr. Rudputz, for being a member of the channel for 21 months. That's insane. He said, let the bull run come. Appreciate you, buddy. You're awesome.
Someone who very much has a dog in that fight, ARK Invest CEO Kathy Wood. Also joining us, Tom Lydon, Vice Chairman of Verify. Kathy, you're one of the 9 applicants for a spot Bitcoin ETF. It does look like the SEC may be forced to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. Can you tell us what, if any, communications you've had with the SEC and what else we might know about this? How do we push the ball forward here?
Well, actually, our partner, 21 Shares in Europe, did answer or send in information in response to SEC questions, and we sent them in on Thursday, I think, or it was publicized that we did. So what we see here is a little bit of a change in the SEC's behavior. They actually are asking questions, and we provided 5 pages along with our partner of answers to those questions. So progress, we would say, yes.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, Kathy, is that the interest in Ether futures ETFs, which only started a couple of weeks ago, and we had some of the people on from ProShares involved in that, has been rather muted since they were introduced a couple of weeks ago. I'm wondering if a spot Bitcoin ETF is really going to move the needle this time. It's interesting because Bitcoin's been sideways for months, and yet we've known that this ruling came in, and it's known that they likely may not appeal, and yet doesn't seem to be moving Bitcoin. It's up a little bit today. Is interest a little more muted in Bitcoin than it used to be?
I think she says it here.
You know, judging by the questions we're getting, no. I think many people focus on our price target for Bitcoin, and our base case is over $600,000 by the year 2030, and they really want to
over $600,000 by 2030. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard it before. I've heard it before that she said that, but that's man, it's a crazy prediction. Can you guys imagine? Like how awesome would that be, and how mad would you be that you didn't take everything you could and put it into Bitcoin right now?
Understand that. So maybe they're just trying to understand our research, but there's definitely a focus on, is this a new asset class that I should investigate? And I would say it'd be like bittersweet, right? Like you'd be so pissed you didn't buy more, but you'd be so happy that it's up there. You know what I mean? Institutions, especially when they see the SEC seal of approval in this way, I think this will finally bring institutional interest into Bitcoin.
Are you on board with that idea? I mean, what's interesting to me, and the reason I asked is when the Bitcoin futures ETF launched, BITO from ProShares, we had Simeon Hyman on. Yeah. This was, almost 2 years ago, and boy, interest was through the roof on this. $1 billion in a day, right? And we've got a few $1 million in the Ether futures. Am I being petty here? Or
No, I don't think so, Bob. I think we're at a critical point in time. This issue with Grayscale is forced the SEC's hand. And really, up until Friday, when they had their deadline, the SEC and Grayscale just weren't talking. Now that they've passed on this appeal date, they're forced to have a conversation. All during the last few weeks, though, they've been talking to ARK, they've been talking to all the other applicants, which gives good confidence that this is going to happen. And when it does, it may take a few months. We do a lot of surveying, as you know, with the folks at Bitwise and advisors for the last 5 years. The big issue is they don't feel like they have real access to cryptocurrency just because of their platforms. Now, if we have a spot opportunity in a whole variety of different issuers, that will change.
So you agree with Kathy's point that this will increase institutional interest?
It absolutely will. Okay. Yeah, because it's on platforms as opposed to exchanges that still aren't regulated.
Yeah. So my understanding here is the court will issue its mandate. It'll tell the SEC this is what you have to do to be in compliance, and they'll move from there. We should know fairly soon about what's going to happen here. Let me just move on, Kathy. Your flagship ARK fund is up 20% this year, but you've had outflows, and so have other tech funds. So tell us about that and what impact higher rates might be having on your holdings this year. That seems to be the big issue.
Yes, well, we can tell we're not in a hugely speculative environment. A lot of people were worried about a reincarnation of the tech and telecom bubble with all of the chat GPT and artificial intelligence hype out there. We don't think it's hype. We think there's something very profound going on here.
I was just going to say that's not hype at all.
So you can see interest rates have, and fear of higher for longer has hurt our performance since July, and I would say most other growth managers. And I do think that we're seeing many investors kind of pull back into cash, which is yielding, 5% plus, and even into long bonds. And watching the flows into long bonds gives us great hope. If investors, bond investors, are beginning to see the peak in interest rates, which is why they would invest in a bond fund, then that should be very good for us. And I think if you listen to company reports, and I know economic statistics are all over the place, but the company reports are coming out solidly that inflation is coming down and activity is weakening. I give Domino's and LVMH two ends of the price spectrum for consumers, and both of them last week said it's weak out there, especially in the United States. So I think we've been through a period of rolling recessions. Housing, by some measures, down 40 to 50%. Autos very sluggish at near recession levels. Inventories not really contributing anymore. So now I think the consumer is going to follow through and probably pull back a bit. And that will, we think, then highlight the superior growth in our portfolios as they are recession resistant.
So how about that? She's saying essentially investors are top ticking the yields right now. We've seen big inflows into bond funds. You and I have talked about it this year.
All right, they're going to get into something else, but shout out to CNBC again. The link to all of these full interviews and stuff are down in the description below if you guys are interested. All right, so this is another one over here, CNBC. The SEC will continue its efforts to bring oversight to crypto. Former CFTC chair Timothy Masad speaks on it. So hit that like button, guys. Appreciate you. Let's do it.
Here to discuss these cross currents, former CFTC chair and current Harvard Kennedy School research fellow Timothy Masad.
Doesn't he kind of look like Gary? Is it stunningly weird?
Tim, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Bring me up to speed on whether you're thrilled, excited, or horrified at the idea of having a spot Bitcoin ETF out there.
Well, I guess it was coming. I had hoped, frankly, a couple of years ago that the SEC might take advantage of the position it was in, which was being challenged because it had approved the futures ETFs but hadn't approved the cash ETFs, to say, well, we'll approve the cash ETFs as long as the prices come from exchanges which meet the following standards. And it would have been a backdoor way of regulating the platforms by saying, well, you got to prevent fraud and manipulation and wash trading, and you got to have transparency and so forth. Well, they didn't do that. So they were kind of in a box after the recent decision. I think the question is, does this bring more people into the market? Does it change where people trade? Right now they do trade primarily on the exchanges. Very few people trade on chain, right? They go.
Guys, we have his nephew in the chat. Andrew Masad is here, and he's actually a member of the channel. Appreciate you, buddy. I'm just kidding. It's not his nephew, but they got the same last name, which is kind of funny.
For the trading platforms. So does it cause people to buy the ETF rather than actually buying Bitcoin through a trading platform, just because maybe they'll be easier to get in and out, more liquid? We'll see. It's kind of ironic, though, because, Bitcoin was supposed to eliminate our reliance on large intermediaries, create peer-to-peer trading. And here we have, some of the largest intermediaries of the world, like BlackRock, offering really a derivative of Bitcoin on
Totally.
a centralized exchange.
Yes, and I'm sure the purists would kind of be rolling their eyes, even while they're thrilled if it helps make Bitcoin prices go higher, as it appears to be doing.
Right.
How much of this is politics? So, some DC observers have made the point that this does kind of in a backdoor way bring Bitcoin under the SEC's remit because they regulate ETFs, and ultimately regulators don't want to lose power, and this is a way of maintaining it.
Well, perhaps that. I think they were really just in a position after the recent court case where they didn't really have any options. They had tried to resist approving the cash ETFs because they were concerned about, the degree of oversight in the cash market. So I think that's why they did it. I think they'll continue, though, to pursue the enforcement actions challenging whether a lot of these tokens are securities. Obviously, they've acknowledged that Bitcoin is not, but we still have that issue of, which tokens are securities and how do we bring regulatory oversight to these platforms? It remains the same issue.
Right. So does it now kind of ring fence Bitcoin and sort of say, okay, that this can move forward and kind of be mainstreamed, all the rest of it TBD, and what exactly is the regulatory the sort of ad hoc regulatory framework that has now sprung up?
TBD, to be determined. And this guy I just like his overall, like the way he is, his persona, right? He seems way nicer than Gary Gensler. Like, get this guy back, please.
I think we're still in a very muddled area because they don't have general oversight over these trading platforms, even with respect to Bitcoin trading, right? I mean, neither the SEC nor the CFTC technically has the power to tell Coinbase, for example, you have to follow these standards in the trading of Bitcoin. Now, former SEC Chair Jay Clayton and I advocated just that. We said the SEC and the CFTC should just get together and develop standards and say these apply to any platform that trades Bitcoin or Ether. That would have gotten you the entire market, and just create a baseline of protection. We can fight about, which tokens really should be treated as securities. We can continue to fight about that, but we really need some basic investor protection in this market.
Would you have any concerns? So if this then opens up other people, and again, maybe crypto is an interesting asset class, those not in it yet, and maybe it's not, but let's just say that people want to mess around with it and they start dabbling with spot Bitcoin ETFs and what's the biggest risk? If it were a family member of yours, would you say, hey, just make sure you don't do X, Y, Z? Or at this point, we all are pretty familiar with the product, this is just a sort of highly efficient liquid way to trade it, and there's going to be a handful of providers and there's really nothing more to it?
Well, let me first say I don't give investment advice and I don't make predictions, but I would say two things. One is it's extremely volatile in price, or three things. It's extremely volatile in price. It's a highly unregulated market, and therefore you just have to be aware of that. There could be, there's estimates that say there's a lot of wash trading where people are pumping up the price, pumping up the volume through transactions with themselves. So it's unregulated. And of course, it's an asset that doesn't really have any cash flows behind it.
Shout out to CNBC television for that. All right. Real quick question in the chat. Let me see. Besides Gemini and Coinbase, who else is good for buying BTC with USD? So I like Kraken. I've used Kraken before back in the past, but really I just use Coinbase personally. I've never used Gemini, so I don't know how that actually is. But if you've done those two, I've done Kraken. So there's three options for you guys. And if you guys didn't know, again, the Bitcoin ETF news was 100% fake. It wasn't approved in any form or fashion. The only issue here now is, well, now the SEC knows where there was a fake Bitcoin spot approval market manipulation pump that they can cite in the next spot Bitcoin ETF denial. So this could really be kind of crappy for us getting approved to actually have it. If anybody's just joining, I want to reiterate that. All right, last and final video, Mr. Altcoin Daily over here. Bitcoin to blame for Hamas-Israel war, which is super sad. Everything about that over there is just awful. So I'm not really going to talk about it too much, but I do want to watch this because I haven't had a chance to yet. So if you guys have any questions, add me in the chat. Let's do it.
Is it me, or does it seem like they use every opportunity to associate crypto with terrorism?
Yeah, that's pretty true too, actually. That's very true, actually.
You said Hamas itself was the earliest terror organization to start adopting crypto. When did that happen?
The FUD is so unbelievably ridiculous. That's such bullshit, though.
That's correct. I mean, we saw fundraising around 2019 or so. It really started with Hamas using Telegram channels. It grew to ultimately putting solicitations on their websites. And we've seen it continue.
I can't believe that this is the story that CNBC is running with, and how they frame it.
The Israel-Hamas war putting a spotlight on cryptocurrency. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week that Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad received large amounts of funding via crypto in the year that was leading up to last Saturday's attack on Israel. On Tuesday, Israeli police said that the country had frozen crypto accounts that were used to solicit donations for Hamas, with Binance assisting in the process. Joining us right now is our Ari Redbourn, who is the head of legal and government affairs at TRM Labs. That's an organization that helps other organizations track crypto-related financial crime. What do you know right now? What can you tell us about how much has been sent in financing to these terrorist organizations through crypto?
First, thank you so much for having me. I think it's important as we discuss sort of cryptocurrency and terror financing that it is a very small part of a much larger sort of terror financing puzzle that involves networks of hawalas and money exchangers and really state sponsors. But look, crypto does play a role. Hamas was an early adopter. Really, we saw.
So does the U.S. dollar. Like, it's so stupid.
In 2019, Hamas started to solicit donations in Bitcoin. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice actually seized a number of websites and about 150 cryptocurrency accounts associated with Hamas that Hamas was using to raise funds.
So even though they said this,
it is a very small part of a much larger sort of terror financing puzzle.
The whole story is about associating crypto with terrorism.
Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad received large amounts of funding via crypto in the year that was leading up to last Saturday's attack on Israel.
Look, my friends,
things like this straight up just this whole thing right here is 100% to try to push the market down so the big guys can buy. Like, don't be fooled. That's exactly what's happening right here. This is such bullshit.
Maybe you say this reporting is just neutral. Maybe you say it's just information. I think they continue to try to show crypto in a negative light. I think they continue to try to conflate crypto with terrorism. They can't get away from this one simple fact, however. Crypto makes it easier to track criminals. Crypto is an open ledger that anyone can see. And even the CNBC host has to question this, has to get the guest to answer this, has to get the guest to admit this.
Yeah, that's what I would say. This is supposed to be something where the ledger tracks every single person. You would think in some ways it would eventually be easier to track down the criminals and the terrorists using that very ledger. What prohibits you from doing it?
Yeah, it's really well said. I was a federal prosecutor for a long time, as you mentioned, and I investigated cases involving networks of shell companies and hawalas and high-value art, right? There was no ability to trace and track those things on an open public ledger. And I think that's really what has allowed successful investigations and ultimately prosecutions in the cryptocurrency space. And I think we'll continue to see that here. You know, I think the paradox is crypto allows terrorist financiers and others to move larger amounts of funds faster cross-border than ever before. But at the same time, law enforcement using tools like TRM can now trace and track funds in real time, something that we never could do in financial crime investigations before. In 2021.
Yeah, because the U.S. dollar doesn't have a public ledger that you can just trace everything back to. So, I mean, there's that.
There was violence in Israel and Gaza. We saw fundraising increase. We're likely to see that again here, but we're also likely to see a lot of successes because of the ability to track and trace funds on the blockchain. Just this week, Israeli authorities announced the seizure of cryptocurrency addresses associated with Hamas. Those are much longer, more complicated investigations if they're not on the blockchain. So I'd say I think there's a lot of ability of law enforcement and authorities to track and trace the flow of funds. Where, quite frankly, we lose visibility is the places we've always lost visibility, and that is off the blockchain. And I think we'll continue to have challenges there, to be sure. But I think we're going to continue to see Hamas and other organizations attempt to raise funds in crypto, because they will attempt to raise funds in absolutely any way they can. But we're also going to see successes. And I can tell you that Israeli authorities, the U.S. government, our partners that we work with around the world are laser focused on this issue right now.
Bitcoin and crypto is the future. Subscribers of our channel know this. Anyone with a brain can see this.
Bitcoin is an asset class. And that's a major revolution. If Fidelity and BlackRock and if 10 other ETF issuers all agree that Bitcoin is an asset class, right, it should be 10x to 100x bigger than it is right now.
Billionaire Paul Tudor Jones seems to get more bullish on Bitcoin every time he guests on CNBC. Great alpha from Paul Tudor Jones here. And then I love how the host asks him this almost as an afterthought and then watches as PTJ gets bullish.
You know what? I honestly think the government is so mad about Bitcoin or just crypto as a whole because they didn't come up with it. Because at the end of the day, it is absolutely the best way to trace everything that goes in and out of anybody's pocket. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no way that this is bad for the government to be able to track people down that are scamming or selling illegal things or whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. There's nothing, there can't be anything bad about this. I mean, yeah, okay, it has some, that moving that kind of money over to something that's, you know, going on across seas. Yeah, I get that it's a lot faster, but like, you don't blame cryptocurrency as a whole for somebody or a couple bad apples. You know what I mean? Somebody doing a bad thing. It's just ridiculous.
I said I wanted to talk about Robinhood, but I also just looked on the screen behind you and I saw the price of Bitcoin. And I know every time we've spoken, you've had a take on Bitcoin. Do you have a new take? Still holding?
I think now the barbarous relics, and I would lump gold and Bitcoin together. I think they probably take on a larger percentage of your portfolio than historically they would, because we're going to go through both a challenging political time here in the United States, and we're going to go through, we've obviously got a geopolitical situation. So I would say...
But high interest rates were supposed to be the thing that was actually going to be unhelpful to Bitcoin.
Well, and I think on a relative basis, look what's happened to gold. It actually has been. Clearly, it suppressed it. So you know that more likely than not, we're going to go into recession. There's some pretty clear-cut recession trades. The easiest are the yield curve gets really steep. Term premium goes into the back ends of debt markets, right, into 30-year and 10-year and 7-year paper. The stock market typically right before a recession declines about 12%. That's probably going to happen at some point from some level. And you look at the big shorts in gold, more likely than not in a recession, the market's typically really long assets like Bitcoin and gold. So there's probably a $40 billion worth of buying that has to come in to gold at some point between now and if that recession actually occurs. So yeah, I like Bitcoin and I like gold right here.
Because the fact is, positive regulation is happening.
Real quick, somebody in the chat said they also don't want you to be able to trace everything because of their BS, which is Andrew Masad. Thank you for that. And that's honestly, you're not wrong. They want to be able to trace what you do, but they don't want you to be able to trace what they do. You know what I mean? So that's a good valid point why they might hate on Bitcoin.
California Governor Newsom green lights crypto regulation bill for 2025. I think
Wait, Crypto KJ just said Binance US suspends all USD withdrawals. Yeah, I think they did that a while ago.
This is more positive than negative. I think this is good. Plus, bad actors continue to be flushed out of the space. Sam Bankman-Fried needs more Adderall to focus during the trial, says lawyers. Lawyers for the FTX founder have asked if he can take long-release ADHD medication as he's been unable to properly concentrate during his trial. Don't let stories like this fool you. They're trying to present Sam in a certain way, and I hope the judge and the jury don't fall for this. They're trying to present Sam in a certain way to get him a lighter sentence. Laura Shin actually had this same guy on her podcast. Here, I 100% agree with them.
Look, their strategy from day one, and really the only strategy they could have taken, is this is Sam is an idiot. He is unorganized. He's sloppy. He's careless. This is just Sam being Sam. This is not someone with criminal intent. That's the only thing they could have done. And really, there's only one way to kind of establish that. And I don't know if you just roll the dice and have him testify. I mean, look, conventional wisdom is you never have your client testify. I would probably be counseling him not to testify. But the reality is that, you know, sometimes you throw a Hail Mary and maybe let's see how the next 2 weeks go. But that might be the Hail Mary that they need to throw to see if there's any way that he could charm or really sort of be a sympathetic figure for the jury. I think it's unlikely, but we'll see. Ultimately, that's up to him. You know, one thing for folks to know as we approach that moment, whether or not it happens, is there's going to be a lot of discussion in court. The judge himself will actually admonish the defendant, explain to him what his constitutional rights are, that he has a right not to testify, and we'll go through all that. And you have to waive those rights. So a lot happens, and it'll be a really interesting moment. But maybe that's the Hail Mary they need to throw at this point.
Guys, the future is bright. Subscribe to Altcoin Daily.
Shout out to Altcoin Daily for that. All right, let me see. Where are we going? Let's go to Cointelegraph. Let me see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Binance. Let me just see. So Binance US. What am I doing? NANCE US. No more USD. Let me see. Just do Binance News, I guess. Let's see. All right, so Crypto KJ said Binance halts the or gets rid of USD cash outs basically, and I'm pretty sure they announced this a couple months ago they were going to turn into a crypto only exchange. October. Yeah, I'm gonna have to scroll through a shit ton. Let me see. Let's go to Google. Let's see if I can do that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We're gonna be getting out of here in a minute. Binance US, no more USD. Let me see. Binance US no longer supports direct USD withdrawals. Let's see. Binance US halts direct dollar withdrawals. The US dollar deposits in user wallets are no longer eligible for FDIC insurance protection according to the updated terms of use. Let's see what they have to say here. It's 52 seconds. We'll listen to this. This is CoinDesk. If you guys don't know, they do have a YouTube channel as well.
The filings that we've seen unsealed, really kind of do hint that the SEC strongly believes that, Binance US is being, at the very least, a little bit misleading about how it's operating. So what's really interesting is we actually saw Binance US respond to the sealed filings earlier this week. At the time, obviously we didn't know what the sealed filings contained, but the Binance US response from a couple days ago pointed to deposition requests for people like now former Binance US CEO Brian Schroeder, more document discovery production requests, things like that. And now we do have more information on, why the SEC is asking for this. They think that Binance US is not complying or potentially not complying with the consent order the two parties agreed to way back in June. The filings that we've seen.
Yep, they did cut him off. Yeah, so what did he just say way back in June? Hold on, let me.
Order the two parties agreed to way back in June. The filings that.
Hold on, let me just.
More information on, why the SEC is asking for this. They think that Binance US is not complying or potentially not complying.
Yeah, so yeah, that was back in June. That's what he was saying. Okay, yeah, so the SEC stated that they wanted to do this way back in June, and it's, I guess, just coming to light now. And that's it. All right, guys, I gotta get out of here. Anyways, I gotta get back to daddy duty. As you guys know, my wife is sick, has COVID, unfortunately. And yeah, I don't have it. I tested again today, so hopefully I'm good to go. But either way, guys, have a great and happy Tuesday. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning around 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. And until next time, peace out.